She took one look at me and said, "No, absolutely not. You don't have the training. You don't have a business degree. We don't allow people to jump silos." And I remember sitting there thinking, why not? Why can't I be that person?
Yo, Munir. Creativity. The happiest guys on the internet. What's going on, brother? Yo, Munir.
All right.
Well, welcome to the show, Monica.
I'm delighted to be here. Now, do I say yo back to you?
Absolutely.
Yo, Monica.
I'm going to say it twice. Yo, yo.
That's how I feel sometimes.
Yeah, trust me. I know.
Oh my gosh. I have to admit, when I saw that you were the oldest daughter of 9, I am married to the oldest daughter of 6.
Oh, yeah. You know the pain.
The organization.
The organization, the pain, the responsibility.
The responsibility. That's for sure.
You could literally just put oldest daughter of 9 on a resume, and that would be a sufficient requirement for any job.
Oh, yeah.
Anything.
I'd be hired in 2 seconds. For sure.
Well, this is where we do a formal welcome. So I'm going to go ahead and say, welcome to Yo Munir, a show celebrating practice and creativity, hosted by the happiest guys on the internet. I'm Rob Haddad, a former producer and director who spent his career in sports, media, and technology.
And I'm Munir Haddad, co-founder of award-winning advertising agency Kiosk and a firm believer in stakeholder capitalism. On today's show, Rob, we are welcoming a very special guest, Monica Nassif. Monica Nassif is a serial entrepreneur, brand builder, consultant, and author based in Minneapolis. She founded Caldrea in 2000 and Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day in 2002, scaling the brands into more than 20,000 stores nationwide before selling to SC Johnson in 2008. Her career began at Target Corporation as an executive speechwriter, and she went on to found the marketing agency Kilter Inc. Monica has been inducted into the Minnesota Business Hall of Fame and named University of Minnesota Entrepreneur of the Year and Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. Her work has been featured in the New York Times, Fast Company, and Real Simple. She's also appeared on NPR's How I Built This with Guy Raz. Her new book, I Bottled My Mother, The Mrs. Meyer Story, Grit, Grime, and Growing a Business, coming out from Idea Press Publishing on April 28th, 2026, is her third book. She gave herself permission to be a 28-year-old intern, and that has made all the difference. We're thrilled to welcome Monica to the pod.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. It did make all the difference. It changed my life, being a 28-year-old intern.
Will you tell us a little bit about yourself beyond or behind the bio? Like
Sure.
the environment you grew up in, where you were
I
born.
grew up in a small town in Iowa, the oldest girl of 9 kids, second in command. My mother had 9 children in 10 years. So when she was gone, I was the boss. Even of my older twin brothers, I bossed them around. And our values were hard work, go get 'em culture, highly competitive, scarce resources. People ask me, why are you so competitive? I said, because I'm not going to get the second chicken leg. You had to scramble for everything at every meal, sporting events. There was always games in our house. I grew up in a very fun, hardworking culture. A lot of fighting.
Amazing.
Fair fighting.
Fair fighting.
Well, one of the things that we like to uncover is, you mentioned playing games. What kind of games did you play?
Card games, canasta, Hollywood rummy, bridge, cribbage, spades, you name it, hearts. My grandparents loved cards, and every vacation, every time they came to see us, we played cards.
Any euchre from this Midwestern family?
I learned euchre from my son-in-law.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
I have one son-in-law who can play cards and one who's working on it. You know people who don't play cards, they just don't even know how to hold their hand. right?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Your hand is leaking. It's a well-developed skill. It's also how you decide to organize your cards is also a tell.
exactly.
We were for sure a card playing family, as well as a Risk and Monopoly
Oh yeah,
family.
yeah,
And I think there's something about this sense of play in this environment, and especially surely in your environment where it was likely heated and competitive.
oh yeah.
For me, as the youngest, no offense,
You were the
I'm the
baby.
oldest.
You were the prince, right?
what
Babies are. My
Yeah.
younger brother Danny's the prince, without
Yeah.
question.
I learned to just live to fight another day and let the older people get angry and militant and aggressive about winning or losing. At least this is my perception of myself. Munir would have to
No, we let you
tell
think
me
that.
exactly. Was there creativity in the household too?
Oh, without question. My mother, she totally believed in working with your hands. She taught us how to cook, sew. I was an early writer. She would send in my stories to these little, children's magazines. And she believed that idle hands were the work of the devil, and you can learn everything about life through your hands. No, let's not forget, she was a child of the Depression. So if they didn't have it, they made it or they went without. So I learned very quickly how to cook because if you cooked, you didn't have to do dishes. And doing dishes for 11 people with no dishwasher, I caught on real quick. I knew where my assignment was, bellied up to the kitchen counter.
I can't wait
We're
to share
we're,
this
we're
with
all
my son.
smiling and laughing because our father was a big cook,
Yeah.
and he used to bring us into assisting, but there were less of us, so we had to do both sides of the equation.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of parties growing up, and so that meant definitely being impressed into the work of the house and
Oh,
and helping
interesting.
out.
That's
Yeah.
great.
But Munir, every night was a Hadad party at Monica's house growing up, it sounds like.
Yeah, no,
There's
100%
enough
every
for a
night.
party, believe me. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I wanted at what point I did read somewhere where you were a self-described wild child. I'm wondering if there was a point of friction, or at what point was the biggest point of friction, being the oldest daughter of 9 again, where you're like, I have to get out of here and I want to go do my own thing.
Yeah, it was the 70s, let's not forget, and I had a very strict father, a German engineer father who played by the rules, and then I went to a Catholic grade school, high school, very strict Catholic high school. And for a creative person, there weren't a lot of outlets for me. I mean, looking back, I think I should have been in art class or something. I should have been in photography class. But that wasn't really available. And I hate to say it, but sports wasn't even available. I was kind of pre-Title IX. Then my sisters came right behind me, and they were gifted athletes. They played basketball, track, all that stuff, which that was just coming on the scene. So women's
Right.
sports was pretty new, and I didn't have access to that. So, there's other things to do in your 70s. And I remember kind of being a wild child, and my mother, she once grabbed me by the shoulders and she said, "Aren't you glad you know what you don't like? This way, when you go into the world, you can build whatever life you want."
That's great.
And I thought that was just some shut up juice.
Yeah.
She was like, "Stop whining, get out of here. Go build the life you want if you
Yeah.
don't like this."
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, it was really good advice.
Where did the writing show up most in your life?
Well, so I was a smoker of cigarettes during high school, and my father thought I was on my way to becoming a prostitute because I smoked cigarettes and I was a truck stop waitress. And he was very troubled by this. And so I was I thought, oh, I'm going to be a writer, it's the 70s. I'm going to write poetry and, kind of, woo woo, get my way out of here. And he finally said, okay, you're a writer. So if you stop smoking, I'll get you an electric typewriter. And I
Wow.
thought that was the coolest thing on earth. He had this old vintage typewriter in this leather case, and you know how the ding would go across and you change the ribbon, and because he was a reporter during college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he had an
Okay.
old typewriter, and then I really thought that was about the coolest gadget, and it was just mine. You know, when you grow up in a big
Yeah.
family, you have to share everything,
Yeah.
and no one could touch my typewriter.
Yeah,
So,
we had one of those old ones that
I
had,
have it.
manual, right?
yeah.
You
I
have
have it.
it
It's in the garage. I was like, can I go run and get it right now? But
Oh, they're
with
cool.
it was a fabric ribbon, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Smith Corona.
Yeah.
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 So to get an
wait a minute.
electric it was huge. So you quit smoking to get the electric, or
Yeah.
did you just use
I
amazing?
didn't really like smoking all that much. I'm going to be honest. It made me feel sick. I just was doing it to be cool, and I wasn't that cool anyway, so
I think you're cool.
it didn't matter.
So your dad was a reporter
In college,
in college.
when he was a
Understood.
mechanical engineer, he was a reporter for the local paper in Indiana.
Well, tell us a little bit about your journey of wanting to become a journalist at one point. No?
Well, I did it one time, and then sorry, I thought
No
this was
problem.
No worries at all.
I did it one time, and then so I went to University of Iowa, and I just tried out more majors than I could think of, and writing, photography, Spanish. Oh gosh, I can't remember, art maybe. And then, you know, I always worked as a typist in the emergency room since I was 16. My mom was a nurse, so since I could
Wow.
type so well, I aced every typing test that I ever applied for as a secretary. So at 16, I'm in the emergency room. I'm the person who comes in, you're bleeding all over the place. I'm the person typing, you know, could I have your social security number and your insurance number and all that stuff? And I don't think my parents knew what I saw working
Oh
in the
gosh.
emergency room on the 3 to 11 shift.
Oh,
Yeah. So anyway, I did that. And then I thought, you know, the nurses back here are kind of cool. Maybe I should just major in nursing. I don't know if I can make it as a writer. So I did that, and I was completely miscast. I didn't do well as a nurse. I mean, I did it. I worked in the surgical intensive care unit. I mean,
yeah.
it taught me a big lesson, and that was put things in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when
Absolutely.
things went wrong making dish soap, I went, no one died, no small children were injured. We're okay. We're just making soap over here. So that was my first career post college.
Amazing.
Then if you worked for the University of Minnesota, you got free tuition. So I went back and picked up my English degree.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I made the transition. And that's
Nice.
when I became the oldest intern in the history of internships. I was 28 years old.
That's a really interesting piece because it takes maybe some courage or some risk, or did you not feel that?
Oh,
To me, that
totally.
yeah. Okay, can you share more about that
Oh,
decision?
yeah. So I go to my English advisor. I'll never forget her. She changed my life, Beverly Atkinson. And I said, hey, I got this English degree. I got to get out of nursing. You got to help me. And she slides across her desk, I'll never forget it, an internship posting for Dayton Hudson, which at the time was the parent company of Target. And she says, they're looking for a writer. You should apply. I thought, oh my God. Okay. So I go in and I apply, and I connect with this one guy because he too was a chemistry major. And I don't know why he thought I was a chemistry major. I wasn't. But we just connected on this very obscure level about organic chemistry. Don't even ask me why. And then I aced the writing test. So then they hired me as a 28-year-old intern. And it was full time. It was really
Oh,
a major pivot in my life.
yeah. And so, you fulfilled the I can make it as a writer, or
Yeah.
maybe make it as a writer.
Yeah. But here I am. I'm 28. I'm used to wearing scrubs my whole life. I walk into a fancy place. All the women in retail, they're clicking around in heels. Their nails are impeccable. The hair is all done. Their clothes are amazing. And I'm sitting there like, I'm an old hayseed. I got to get my act together. It was a real education in many, many ways, in
Yeah.
addition to the work environment.
and social, political, all
Yeah,
of it. Right. Yeah.
all of it. Yeah.
And so what was the moment where you said, okay, I'm going to transition from writing to another creative idea that you had?
So then I went to work for an operating division, which was a test strategy of Dayton Hudson, and it was a home decor, much like a Bed Bath and Beyond. Stack 'em high, watch 'em fly, a lot of trend colors. And the guy who ran it was very entrepreneurial. And I still use a lot of his quotes that he taught me, and he was funny, so he was kind of fun to work with. And two of his most memorable quotes are, I make 5 decisions a day. 2 are bad, but I keep making decisions. That taught me a lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah. His other great quote is, and this is why I cannibalized Caldrea for Mrs. Myers. He said, Monica, saw the branch you're sitting off so it makes you grab for the one above you. He was always about cannibalize your own business. Don't let anybody else do it to you. And I learned a lot from him. So I was in that role for a couple of years. Then they shut it down. So then I started freelancing, and most of my freelance work was with Target. I was doing all kinds of things, writing speeches, writing annual reports, ad copy, all that stuff. So I started as a writer freelancing. That's how I transitioned into the agency world.
Got it. And how was the agency world?
You know what? We grew it for 10 years. My partner was a creative director, and we had probably 35 employees. Most of our work was with Target,
Yep.
product packaging, brand building, consumer products. And then I just frankly got tired of it. Every night I went, all my assets are going down the elevator every night. I'm going to be 65 still doing this. I'm going to be exhausted. It's you guys are agency people. You know, this is hard work.
One of
Right?
us is. That's me.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're only as good as your last idea, and that's if the client likes it.
And 100%.
Yeah.
But it is exciting to
Yeah, oh,
create.
yeah.
And then you have still again, your journey is creative. The fact that you've been able to recreate yourself and have the guts to keep making those decisions, and acknowledging even when some of them might not be working as well as you want them to. I mean, that's hard to some of the hardest things, the grit that you talk about. We talk about grit and quit. And how do you decide when to quit and move?
Yeah, well, we thought we were so smart when we had our agency. We had a lot of very talented designers, and all of our work was in retail. So we saw all these product openings, for a new category of goods. So once we thought, oh, let's make our own watches. Because at the time, there was a huge chasm between a Swatch watch for $100 and a Rolex for $5,000. And so we got to know this watch manufacturer, and we thought, oh, let's make our own watches. Well, it was an absolute failure. We had no business doing that. But the lesson I learned a really important lesson, and I said, if I ever start a product company, the only thing I'm going to do is focus on sales. I'm not coming home until I have a fistful of POs. I made a promise to myself, because that was our failure. So when
again,
you quit,
learning, but
Well, right.
Yeah.
I think that's what is most interesting to those of us who fear stepping out. And Graham Weaver, who's a professor at Stanford Business School, talks about taking the nail out of your head. And he says there's always going to be a reason not to.
right.
So the best time to start is yesterday. And I'm curious, connecting part of your upbringing to your willingness to step out and take chances. Can you share where that comes from?
Yeah, I credit my mom with that. She said, when I interviewed her for this book, she said, it's not in my vocabulary. I call it learning. And she was all about, well, try this, try that. Oh, you sewed the wrong sleeve into the bodice during sewing. No problem. Just rip it out and start over. Oh, you screwed up that cake. No problem. Just the boys will eat it. It's terrible. The boys will eat it. Make another one. It was never like, oh, I can't believe you did that. It was always, well, now we know. Let's go. It was always, now we know. Let's go.
I love that line. I'm stealing that line.
Oh
Steal
my
it.
gosh.
It's good.
That is obviously the origin of the permission to
For sure.
experiment.
Yeah. And the other thing too is I've had a career, if you will, since I've been age 10. I've been working since forever. So I always thought I can get a job. I never once thought I couldn't work. I even did a whole thing on an analysis on working for UPS. If Mrs. Myers fell apart, that I could support my family. I never got personally leveraged that I didn't have a backup plan. That's huge for entrepreneurs. Some people get way out there and go, oh shit, my mortgage payment is huge.
Yeah. Yep.
The working from age 10 is something that Munir and I totally can relate to, even if it required our mother to do our paper route for us. God bless her. Thanks, Mom. We appreciate you. But both of us started working easily at the age of 12.
Oh yeah.
And my youngest is 12, and she takes care of the dogs for the neighbors quite a bit. And she loves it. You can start seeing that interest in wanting to work. She asked when she can get her working papers. We all actually have something in common in that we all worked at department stores.
Oh yeah.
Munir and I both worked at Lord and Taylor.
Oh, you did? Okay. In New York? Where?
I was on the floor. No, I was on the floor in retail in Eastchester, New York.
Okay.
And I tell you what, there was so much instant gratification from the shoppers who would approach you and ask for help. And I remember I had a grandmother approach me and say, you look just like my grandson. Would you try this jacket on? I think it would fit you. And if it fits you, it'll fit my grandson. Do you like this style? It was totally engaging. And of course, now I'm in sales, but at that time, I didn't think about it.
You were still in sales.
I sure was.
In sales.
But that energy that you got on the floor was really engaging. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, you've had so many different roles. Was there a point in which you said, I want to do that?
I think when I got to Dayton Hudson, here's what I tried to do, and this is probably why I left corporate America. I looked around at who the stars were, and I said, it's the merchants, it's the buyers.
Yeah.
Those are the kings and queens rising up the ranks. And that's when merchandising was still amazing. It wasn't run by chatbox or algorithm. It was like the feel of the old Garmento. He or she knew that yellow was going to be hot, so let's do yellow. They're just making a bet, a really intuitive bet. And I saw them and I went, I'm going to be a merchant. I'm going to be a buyer. So I went to HR and said, hey, can I get in the merchandising training program? She took one look at me and said, no, absolutely not. You don't have the training. You don't have a business degree. We don't allow people to jump silos. And I remember sitting there thinking, why not? Why can't I be that person?
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't allowed in the program. So after that other strategy failed, I went, I can't go back to corporate America. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to bet on I always said I'm going to bet on myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you were about to tell us how you decide when enough is enough. And
when you're broke.
Wait. Okay. Can't
So
get any
when
easier
you
than
run out of
that.
money, that's one clue.
Okay.
That's the biggest clue.
That's clear.
Yeah. And then the other failure, in addition to the watches, is I stupidly started a high-end fashion loungewear line after I sold Mrs. Myers, and I gave myself a budget, an expense budget and a revenue budget. And I said, if I don't hit either of these targets in a certain time frame, I'm shutting it down.
Yeah.
And so I didn't make any of those numbers, and I shut it down.
That takes guts. To have that self-discipline, that takes guts. I love that, though. If you know that it's not working,
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear what's next, but
Well,
we know that you're...
This is what's next, my book. That's what I'm working on.
I was about to say, your book is it.
Yeah.
That's another thing that people talk about doing all the time and don't ever do it. And this is your third book.
Well, the first two books were marketing books. They were called Spring Cleaning and Laundry, and they were really used to promote the whole idea of what we were doing, and that was personal care for the home. So it was more like a highfalutin manual, if you will, for how to care for your home. But it really wasn't a passion project like this book.
I see. So was it hard to commit to the process?
Well, I gave myself, see, I'm always about timelines. I gave myself a year, and then I wrote every chapter per month, and then I gave myself a year for editing. And I stayed pretty much on schedule.
Amazing. And was it
I like
was it
projects with timelines.
was it dedicated every day? Was it how did you we love process. Like how did you
Okay.
decide?
Well, so I did it almost like a chapter a month. So I did, if I had 2 hours one day and I had 6 hours the next, I always kind of saw my timeline, in the distance going, oh crap, I don't have that done yet. And then some chapters were easier to write than others. So I'd have to go back and kind of finish some chapters. And how I kind of write is I just get it all down and then I go back and really take the machete to it,
Yeah.
really edit. That's how I've
And did,
always written. I used to write my speeches like that, all my marketing papers, just get it all down and then whack away.
yeah, we talk about whether you're a sculptor, where you're a sculptor that's additive, like clay, where you add stuff to it, or one that's like a stone or wood, where you're pulling
Yeah,
stuff off.
yeah,
I work like you. I put it all in and then try to
yeah,
carve it off.
yeah, yeah.
I'm curious, was there something that came to you during this writing process that you hadn't thought of before? Was there a
Well,
new insight that you derived or a story that you had forgotten that was really important to share?
what was interesting was I don't think I had really sat and thought about how influential my parents were. Until I sat down with my mom. My father has passed. He was completely different than my mother. My mom was, let's, party in a box. Let's figure it out. Let's go. Really healthy eating, really had a huge garden. And my dad, very stern taskmaster. He, though, on the other hand, was this very creative engineer. Like he built a motorhome from nothing, from a pickup chassis, to put us all in. But he operated very differently. And I realized after sitting down with my mother, really what they gave us so many gifts. I never just sat down and thought about it. Like I can easily say all those things I've said to you today, but I don't think before this book I could have those words at my fingertips.
We really appreciate you sharing them with us and the people listening. It's amazing, and it leads me to wanting to read you something, which is
Okay.
really reading you something that you've written,
Okay.
and more so to read it to the folks that might be listening. This comes from I Bottled My Mother, the Mrs. Meyer's story, Grit, Grime, and Growing a Business by Monica Nassif, and this quote has something by Thelma Meyer. One powerful way to build your creative muscle is by working with your hands. My work was right in front of me, recalled my mother. I didn't have time to plan, draw sketches, or write down what we were going to do. There was no time. I'm too busy. Not only with the job of running the house, but also keeping all the kids busy with sewing, cooking, yard work, reading, sports, piano lessons, playing outside. I rarely allowed you kids to watch television, or as I call it, the idiot box. This way you could play and dream.
That's my mom. That was her philosophy for raising children without question.
That is a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah.
And it gives us permission and the folks listening the permission to also think about these things and what they can do, both to structure their own lives and give permission to others. And that process of, we talk about practice and creativity, and a lot of creativity is about the continuing to do things
Right. And
and
learn things. Learn new
and
things.
and learn new things and accept that you might make a wrong, a wrong decision.
Yeah.
One of the things that struck me about the Mrs. Meyer's brand is the design elements and
Hmm.
the use of font and text
Yeah.
in the design. Can you share more a little bit about that?
Sure. So Warner Design Works is a design firm in Minneapolis, and they're extremely talented. They do all consumer products. You probably know them. I've known them for years, and they wanted the packaging to look like Thelma and Vern, that's my father's name, would have made it in the basement. Not too slick, not too slick. Really affordable bottles, really thrifty, a lot of words on the packaging because she has a lot to share with you, the ingredients and her philosophy and all that. So that was kind of our philosophy. Like Thelma could maybe have made this. So it had it has a lot of handmade sort of nature to it. At least in the first packaging. It's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Is that part of your brand guide when you're thinking about what the brand is going to be about? Do those descriptions, like something that Thelma could have made,
Oh,
live
totally.
inside as
Yeah.
guide?
Oh, we had a brand book. This is what Thelma would say. This is how Thelma goes to market. When Thelma's doing a media interview, this is what she looks like. I'm a big believer in when you're trying to create a really amazing brand, leave nothing to chance. So we had a whole vocabulary that she used. She was like your neighbor, your friendly neighbor who wants to steal your garden patch because she's got 9 kids to feed, but she'll bring you tomatoes in August. She's talking to you like a regular person.
It's great to have that North Star and to have those rules for others that want to work with you, because the only way to scale is to provide people with those pieces that they can take and go bring to the market for you when you're not in the room, because you can't be everywhere.
For sure. That's right.
Can you give our listeners three words of advice that are important for creativity?
One is pay attention. I know it sounds so simple, but I tell people, would you please put down the phone, shut your laptop, and go walk around. Go walk around stores until your feet hurt. I used to do that. I spent so much time in stores. So let me give you a perfect example. So let's say you want to invent a product for cleaning cars, and you go on Amazon and you see one product. Well, I suggest you go to Walmart and go look at the 16-foot section of car cleaning products, and you'll see the world right there. You can't learn from the computer. You can, but you really want to see the world in retail. That was my world. You got to go out and look at stores. You got to look around. And here's a trick I did all the time. I used to go to the clearance rack, I always said the shit goes to die with the orange sticker. So I always go back there. I just did it last week. I can't believe I do this. I go back there and I go, now why did this fail? Was there an idea there that it's a good idea, but it's just so poorly executed? I ask myself that all the time. So that's one idea. Just walk around. 2, I tell people connect the dots. Okay, but you can't connect dots if you don't have any dots, right? So how do you get dots? Walk around. I'm a big believer in looking at affinity industries. Like I love fashion, design, home decor, architecture, all those things, because our consumer is that consumer. She's buying fancy dishes from Williams-Sonoma, beautiful linens from here, French, Pouilly View, whatever. So our cleaning products had to be in step with her world. I always said cleaning products, we called them jewelry for the counter, because we wanted it to be personal care for the home. We didn't want to look like all that other crap you could buy. So connect the dots, and you got to, first of all, go get your dots. And do you guys remember Bill Cunningham, who used to be the fashion photographer for the New York Times? And he used to ride up and down Manhattan in a French blue work jacket. Well, watch his documentary. It's awesome for creative people. And he said, the answers are on the street. You have to stay on the street. There are no shortcuts. That's my philosophy about connecting the dots.
There are so many quotes from.
Oh, okay, wait, I got a third one. What was it? Oh, I think that was it.
I think that's good.
That's enough, right?
Yeah. We don't want to give them everything.
No, exactly.
They got to read the book.
That's right. Well, it's time now on our show where we like to talk about our favorite mixtape.
Okay.
And we love to provide people with something to think about that's related to our theme. And I think today our theme is about our moms. And what are 3 songs that remind you of your mom?
Well, she used to sing to us, and I've heard her sing it to my daughters, "Hush, little baby, don't you cry." that one. And Peter, Paul, and Mary sing a great version of that. My dad loved to sing Home on the Range. He had a terrible voice, but every time we drove the motorhome in he loved to travel out west to Colorado, he would start singing Home on the Range.
Wow.
And then, gosh, what's another one? Hush Little Baby, Home on the Range, and You Are My Sunshine. Yeah.
Great.
Beautiful.
And Johnny Cash does a great version of that.
Is that if you are? I haven't heard that version.
It's really beautiful.
Wow.
This is why we do this, Rob.
Now you can put those on the playlist.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I find myself still singing those songs to my grandkids. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Hey, Rob, what's on your list?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. These are later in Mom's life. I thought I would challenge myself with songs that she listened to later in life. And the first one that comes to mind is Bob Dylan's Working Man Blues number 2. And that actually came off of his Modern Times album that was released in 2006. Plus, Bob Dylan is from Minnesota, and I love the Minnesota connection. And so I said that would be a great one to talk to Monica about. Number 2 is America, Lonely People.
Oh.
So I know the band America, but I didn't know the song Lonely People until I heard it listening to a classic rock station with Mom around the same time, by the way, maybe 2007. And then the third is a Neil Young song from Harvest Moon called, what is the name of the song? You would think I would have it right here.
You would.
It's not the one in Eat, Pray, Love, is it?
No, it's what a shame.
Rob, while you look for the Neil Young song, I'm going to start my list. It's going to start with Yesterday by the Beatles, 1965, Paul McCartney. My mom actually lived on Abbey Road. She was English and once ran into Paul in a W.H. Smith store and was frozen, didn't know what to say, and ran away. And he later reflected, actually, that song might actually be about his losing his mother and his regrets over her death. The other is Asturias Leyenda by Isaac Albanez, and played by Andres Segovia, 1892.
Wow.
Why, Rob? Because
Spanish guitar?
Spanish guitar. My mother taught herself to play this song on Spanish guitar because our cousin had been moved into our house. She all of a sudden had 3 kids, and he was a guitar player, and she had this love-hate relationship with him and was challenging, and he could play it, and so she taught herself to play it. And the last one is Tears in Heaven, acoustic live. Yeah. Eric Clapton from Unplugged, 1992. Great. Still the best-selling live album of all time. 26 million copies.
Wow.
How about that?
That's cool.
One of These Days is the song, and it opens with, one of these days, I'm going to sit down and write a long letter to all of the good friends I've known. And so I thought the connection to writing and Monica would be really poetic as well. So, Monica, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us and your story.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, guys.